Okay, so dear Dharma practitioners, be comfortable yourself and relax your body. Keep your back straight, neck head straight in one line and your right palm on your left. So gently close your eyes and bring your attention to this bell sound. And while you're focusing to the sound, mentally relax your body, relax your mind and relax your breathing with your thoughts. So do nothing extra. Just follow the sound, please. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the Blessed One, the Exalted One, the fully enlightened one. So dear Dhamma practitioners, as usual, before we start our practice session, we'll take few minutes to clarify ourselves, understand ourselves, how this practice can help for us to uplift our own awareness. So as you know, with this pandemic situation, the subject, this meditation subject became more popular. And now all over the world, more than any other time, people talk about awareness, mental health, and meditation. And it's more than the meditation, it's go with the words mindfulness practice. And when it comes to that, even though it is more popular, and a lot of people don't like to mention Buddhism, they try to take it in a separate way and thinking the mindfulness practice. But you have to be very careful with this, because when it comes to the Buddha's teaching, and even before the Buddha, there were many other meditation techniques, many meditation practice. And yogic practice was a kind of like a 10,000 years old. And in that yogic practice, that already samatha was one of the major the mental practice. And with the many kind of yogis, ascetics, and enlightened masters that used to have high mental powers. But when it comes to the Buddha's teaching, Buddha mainly that mentions something else. So that's come through the vipassana. So when it comes to that, it is not kind of like a way, reject that whatever all the teachings used to be at that time. So what the Buddha did, it's deeply, gently interact with the other, all the methods and practice, and gave a more meaning to it, to go beyond the limits. Go beyond the limits mean here, the limits was our own mind. And whatever the practice used to be, and even the samadhi, the tranquility state, or the satori, or the kevalya, that whatever you mention, that all used to be related to reflect on our own mind. It's not beyond the mind. So the mind come out of the names and forms. And then with the names and form, it belong to the samsara. So the becoming. Even though samadhi was a kind of like a very post mood, it's kind of like a neutral state. It was not permanent liberation from the existence. So then the vipassana meditation gave deeper meaning to that. And with the samadhi, it went little bit more and complete the mission. So the mission means through these human civilizations, many enlightened masters and used to look for transformation or the liberation or the ultimate goal of this human existence. And as you know, even today, after the Buddha, 2,600 years, and even today, around the world, that the people look for this. So then, why that today that we talk about mindfulness, but we don't want to mention about Buddha or the Buddhism or its teachings? So when the Buddha come to the world, it directly mentioned the world is suffering. And then it gave a kind of like a red light. And then the Buddha mentioned that everything changed. It kind of like gave a red light to all the people look for happiness and satisfaction with their own self-centered mind. And some people don't like it. But still, when it comes to the truth, you should understand you are capable to handle the truth. And at the same time, the mostly what happens in day-to-day with this conventional life, we don't want to see the truth or hear the truth or recognize the truth. And because of that, what happened deeply, these mental abilities, little by little, become weaker. You are the one who is responsible. And when it comes to your situation, your personal life, you are not ready to accept the truth. And at the same time, when you have opportunity, you don't tell the truth. You don't go with the truth. If you look very carefully, how many times that you used to head massage? How many times that you kind of like give kind of like mental candy for other people to make them happy with the ideas without telling the truth. You knew the truth, but you didn't tell it. So then how you can expect that something you can fulfill yourself? Because even in the very conventional level, you didn't accept it and you didn't practice it. And you cover up with all the nice and beautiful words that gave the happiness and satisfaction only for that moment. And then it became a kind of like our attitude. And by the time it became our character, and by the time it became our lifestyle, and by the time it became our world, the whole world became like that. So then today what happens? And through the mindfulness practice, most of us look for solutions for our own personal problems. There's nothing wrong with that. But the thing is, where are you going to end? And just imagine you become happy, then where are you going to end? And you become satisfied, where are you going to end? After that, what will happen? Because you know nothing is permanent. Everything going to change. So then just imagine you have hopes to reach to something. And then you reach there. And once you reach to that point and you spend everything and you achieve to that, then you have desire to hold it. But you know, it's nothing going to remain the same. Then what will happen? Again, you have to reach. Again, you have to reach. So, but if you develop the mechanism of mind to recognize that the nature of life with the fundamental qualities of the Buddha's teaching, you never get into unsatisfaction wherever you reach. And then whatever this is, then what will happen? When you get into the fundamental qualities of the Buddha's teaching, in that the change, unsatisfaction, selflessness. If you recognize that, if you build up your practice on that foundation, even though you didn't experience, you know yourself, the nature of the world, and then by the time what will happen? So whatever situation comes, you are ready to accept it. There is a Zen story. One Zen student came and asked from a master that what will happen if the unnecessary situations come to us? And what will happen suddenly if any kind of difficult situations come to us? And then the Zen master saw the both hands like this and opened the arms and told, welcome. So your mind become ready to accept any situations. But if you look very carefully through the spiritual practice, most of us try to develop, try to build up very comfortable, undisturbed satisfaction and concrete satisfaction inside us. You will never get it. Don't look for that. You're going to get into a big trouble then, because then you are mentally going to have a hard time. Why? Because the very nature of life, it's not like that. So that is the very essence of the Buddha's teaching. And it is a good lesson for us. It's always good lesson for us. And through that lesson, we have to understand where we need to focus. And once you know that, so this teachings, it's kind of like a guiding book and a road map. And you no need to worship it. You have to use it. You have to use it to the highest. But at the same time, you have to go the journey yourself. And knowingly, the very condition and the nature of the road. So if you try to go the journey without knowing what is the very nature of the journey, even though you know the road, maybe you can get into a trouble. So that's why the Buddha's teaching gives us a very clear map and at the same time informations about the journey. So then when it comes to our life, how we can develop our practice with these fundamental qualities in day-to-day life. Can you come to a point? Because it is just not practice, not kind of like, you just sit on cushion or listening to something. And after you've done this, and how you going to be in yourself in day-to-day life? Because life itself not going to fair. It's a very unfair things happen in our life. And we cannot always look for the nice and comfortable and happy situations. And it always like that. So then, are you ready to accept it? Or are you going to struggle about it? And then how you can get that through the mental practice, how you can develop the ability to accept. So when you come to the sitting, bring your whole attention and just be with just this. That's it. The moment that you experience. And be with that, just only this. When it comes to inhalation, exhalation, can you just focus to that yourself and keep your attention knowingly, just this. And once you have that ability, it gives a moment to settle down. That is very, very important. And once you have that ability, that doesn't mean you're going to develop. Remember this, you're not going to develop a very concrete samadhi. It's not going, it is not our purpose. The very solid samadhi, that very unmovable, undisturbable, the mental state. No. Once you have a tranquility state, it's kind of like you finding a very balanced place to sit and observe deeply, thoroughly. And when you observe that, the itself your mind, itself your body, itself your feelings, itself your own inner experience, you have to be like a person can break all the rules. That is vipassana. The rules doesn't mean that you develop that you gain from outside. No, there are a lot of rules that you develop by the time only by yourself. This is the tricky parts. We try to gain that all the happiness, success, and the enlightenment, keeping that all the rules. We don't want to break that rules. But remember, you became like this and you are today, experience this life as who you are because of that rules you used to build by the time. So if you don't want to break that rules, you're going to be the same tomorrow. So now when you're willing to break that rules, that's why we stand with the Dharma. That's why we have the faith towards the Buddha. That's why we come with the community of Sangha. It's a very safe environment for you to let go all the rules that you build by just yourself, with your self-centered mind, your own point of view. Once you release that, your mind is going to be open. And once you release that, once you come out of the self-centered view, that means the habitual patterns or the emotions or mental patterns that you used to develop as habits because of the study or the culture, traditions, or the parents or any. And your mind going to become completely free. And itself then capable to recognize this perception. So with that all the experience or the patterns and the habits or the culture, traditions, if you try to recognize something, what will happen? This is what happened. So, as you know, this pen, that when you see it, so it through the computer or the cell phone, now you can see it. So even though you see this way, and when it comes to your eye, there is no pen going to come to you. It's happening in your mind. And beyond this eye, that the mechanism is completely different. So beyond this eye, when it comes to the brain, water, protein, and electricity. So this kind of things, since there is no pen. But this whole mechanism follows some kind of pattern. And that pattern responds to the consciousness. So the consciousness is just not only your physical parts. So that's why we are different from robots. We are different from machines. So the consciousness responds to the moment. And at the same time, consciousness has ability to create the pattern, go with the pattern. So then two abilities. It has ability to go with the pattern, and it has ability to respond to the pattern, the respond to the moment. So when you see a pen or when you experience anything in the moment, if you are not practice well to recognize, this is important, to recognize what will happen when you see something, your consciousness start to overlap or go with the pattern. And when it go with the pattern, you think you recognize. It is not the recognition. So why we need to practice meditation? Because we not normally used to have that ability when something happened just to recognize. Why? Because we depend on memory. So then deeply what happened, this deeper inside, that whatever happened in your head and in your body, this everything, when the perception comes, and it more start to go and hold with the whatever comfortable for it, which is habits or the patterns or the memory. And then you lose the recognition. So by the time, if you develop a method, drop that ability to go with the memory but just be with the recognition, by the time you start to see your own thoughts, that means the consciousness, when the perception comes, your awareness, because it's not going to go with the thoughts, go with the memory, your awareness able to see the thoughts happening according to the perception. So when you have the ability to see the thoughts, remember, it is not the outside, the perception. you have the ability to see the thoughts, because thoughts come as a result of perception. So once you have ability to see the thoughts, you will see when a thought comes, it is good or bad, right or wrong, happy or unhappy, sad or worry. So like that, you able to recognize that, you can evaluate that thoughts. And when you have that ability, by the time you develop a method deeper inside, and not to go with the reactions, but to recognize the thoughts. And when you develop that deeply, you gain the satisfaction to you. Because now you see your thoughts, and now you can see that the value of the thoughts and the outcome of the thoughts, and you can handle it. And when it comes to that, rather than the thoughts or the perception, your awareness or your consciousness become major, and your thoughts become the very minor. When the consciousness become major, that is what you need. In a very conventional level, if you're able to lift your consciousness than your thoughts, reactions, you gain some kind of self-development inside you, no matter what the world go through. So through the meditation, this is what happened. So why the Buddha's teaching is important? Because when you come to see the thoughts, there are roots that come. There are links. Just imagine there is a person practice mindfulness. There is a person practice with the mindfulness with the Buddha's teaching. And the both peoples able to see the thoughts. So when it comes to that, the root, if you don't able to recognize the roots, that's mean greed, hatred, and the delusion. If you look at the world today, all the greed, hatred, and the delusion govern this entire situations in the world. So if you look for the happiness, satisfaction, and maybe your happiness or your satisfaction, even that you want to come out of the problems, and that is still related to the greed, hatred, and the delusion. So then, even though you see the thoughts, the reactions is still going to come with the greed, hatred, and the delusion. But if you're able to recognize the greed, hatred, and the delusion as roots, on the surface level, whatever the condition of your mind, maybe it is happy or sad, but still you able to cut down that deeper roots. And then out of your bodily, verbally, mentally actions, you're not going to gain any kind of greed, hatred, or the delusion. So that is why your contribution going to be the best for the world. Out of your living. So what is the purpose of your enlightenment then? The very purpose of your enlightenment, to have a complete person, to have a life not to harm for anything or anybody with your bodily, verbally, mentally action. So if you come to a point to have a very single day, that day is more value than your eons by your samsaric journey. Why? Because through the samsaric journey, we didn't able to perform ourselves with our bodily, verbally, mentally action to that kind of highest level of purification. Still somewhere we used to have the great hatred and the delusion. So then your very enlightenment means, your liberation itself means the very condition of thoughts you have to transform from the greed, hatred, and the delusion to loving kindness, generosity, compassion, and wisdom. So that is where we go. So in that journey, you have to remember the very moment of sitting, give the practice for you to recognize it deeply yourself. And at the same time, in day-to-day life, you have to bring that ability out of your bodily, verbally, mentally action. That is the another way, if we summarize this all, the right way of living. The Eightfold Path. And when it comes to that, it is not that we have the intention to get out of something. We know life is suffering. We know everything impermanent. We know nothing belongs to self. So then, when it comes to our bodily, verbally, mentally actions, we do the best for ourselves and for others. If you're able to come to that kind of moment of existence, the awareness itself going to be with you, and you're able to see your thoughts. That is where you can justify yourself. It's not related to the greed, hatred, or the delusion. If it is so, then you are capable to recognize it and not to bring as a bodily, verbally, or mentally action. And then little by the time it's going to disappear. Why? Because all the thoughts, your sanskara, mental formations, your cankers become empowered by actions. So once you don't bring it as an action, it's going to little by little minus. So, and at the same time, when you empower all the good action that you recognize that good, you have to be mindful. That is where you need the tranquility state to see your mind and recognize your thoughts. If you don't use that, what's the point of, you come and sit like a statue and don't move and don't do anything. But once you start to have just your verbally, mentally action, if you can't recognize your thoughts, what will happen? What's the point? So that's why the tranquility state is important to see our mind. And you bring a well-balanced point to have an undisturbed moment to see your thoughts. And once you have it, from there start your journey. And if you want to go to the vipassana deeper, and then you have a well-balanced moment and deeply, thoroughly, you observe your inner experience. And when you observe that deeply, you recognize this everything happens as a result of something else. And that is where we go to the causality, cause and effect. When you see the cause and effect, and itself will help you to get out of the idea of existence. Because even though it appears as something, it depends on something else. Then that appearance, it's kind of like The moment of experience, but not permanent. That is the key point. So then how you can apply it to yourself? That you are appear like this as a person, your eye, ear, this nose, your mouth, teeth, your skin, this thing doesn't make anything. This all material. But when this everything that, and at the same time, when you are come with the consciousness, that recognition comes. So if there is no recognition, what the point of having this, all the organs? So then the recognition is moment by moment change. So the very meaning of life is the recognition. And once you know that recognition is change, the very meaning, the very purpose of life is the recognition, and the recognition change. And then that will help you to release the idea of the self-existence. And that is where you enjoy the life. That enjoy means it's not the conventional level of, having fun. It's a more deeper level of silence, observation, and acceptance. And when it comes to that, it's not you are kind of like somebody separate from everything. When it comes to that, you recognize you are this experience, this recognition is the ultimate result of your entire samsaric journey. And all this samsaric journey, you went through hell and heaven, and today you came to this point, and in front of this computer or the cell phone, and now you experience, you recognize that is what you deserve through this journey. But if you think about something else, you miss this point. But at the same time, you have to understand, even though you come to that ultimate moment of experience, that moment of experience, not to hold something, but to just go with it. Can you do that? If you can do that, you're not going to collect the memory. You not hold it to the memory. So when the mind not interfere with collecting memory, it always interfere with the experience. When the mind interfere with the experience, it's always be with the recognition. When the mind always be with the recognition, you always be with the understanding. When you are always be with the understanding, your mind has no moment to go past or the future or the analyze like that way. Because that the very moment of your experience become your recognition and your understanding and your wisdom. Only the human being can do that. Only you have that power to do it. Because this kind of recognition, this kind of consciousness not going to happen through another animal. It's different. And there was a beetle in Australia, and that beetle used to catch the female through the color. And then that when the female need that the male beetle, it illuminates some kind of color. So then what happened? By the time there was a beer company, when the people drink the beer and they throw the bottle out, and by the time what happened, that beer bottle start to reflect the same kind of color like the female beetle. And then what happened? The beetles start to, go into the beer bottles rather than go towards the the female beetles. And by the time the Australian government cancelled and changed that the shape of the color of the bottle, because by the time they recognized, these beetles start to disappearing. The reason was that the beetle didn't recognize the female, and they used to go towards the beer bottle. Because it happened to a lot of animals. They can go towards something, but the human, the recognition, it's not going to happen. That's why everything in this world come by the human creations. But the thing is, and sometimes we caught up on our own imagination, and as a result of that, we lose the ability of the real recognition. So then when it comes to something, you have to come to a point to recognize that when you recognize something, is it real recognition or is it fake? The fake means reflect of your own thoughts or the mind or your own habits. So getting to that level, that is where we go with the step-by-step practice. So in the beginning, we come to a very primary mental object and settle down there and develop a mental discipline to be with the moment of recognition. And once you go with that, little by little, you develop a certain mental ability to see clearly. Once you're able to see clearly and deeper, you can develop the ability to recognize, analyze. So when you're able to have the experience to analyze your own experience, you recognize who you are. Because experience and experiencer, perception and the perceiver, subject and object, this all has the same nature. So you have the same nature like this entire universe. So then why you don't experience it? Why you don't give a kind of like a try and go that journey? And just a moment of, if you're able to settle down and be with it and recognize when a sensation happens, when a breathing happens, when a thought comes, when you're able to experience that deeper level and you recognize the nature of you and you recognize the nature of the world, and that will help you to come to a point to decide yourself, you want to go this journey forward or this is enough for you. It is up to you, but you cannot decide it today. You can decide it when you see the very nature of the journey. So to see that, we come with our observing our own inhalation, exhalation in front of our nose and upper lip area. Just allow it to happen. But at the same time, bring your fully attention and observe it and recognize it, be with it, and see how the moment by moment, moment by moment, that you experience it. And no one doing it, no one responsible for it. It's just there happening. So you don't need to interfere with that and just experience it. Don't try to verbalize it. Because once you verbalize it, it starts to go to all the language and the mechanism. So that's why don't verbalize it, just be with it. And then by the time If you're able to settle down with that, don't mesmerize, but deeply observe, thoroughly observe the experiencer, you, and who is this experiencing this, and what is this? Is it beyond the body or it is the body? If it is the body, how it is happen? You will see it, but from not like this. In the very first level, you have to go to the tranquility state. From there, you can observe. So just so we'll practice a little bit. Keep your back straight, neck head straight in one line, and your right palm on your left. So bring attention to your body, please, and observe head to toes 3 times yourself and say Sopateva, or may I be well and happy. 3 times. Take a moment and think. We gathered here in this moment to practice this ancient meditation technique. All the Buddhas, all the enlightened masters followed this path and achieved wisdom. So we also gathered here to accumulate that knowledge. In this moment, with this sitting, may my body become more comfortable. May my breath be more smooth. May no difficulties come to me. May all the success come to me. Also think for a moment. This is the last moment we're spending in this very lifetime. And detach your mind from all your past memories and as well as any kind of future thoughts. Just try to remain in the present moment, observing the sensation of your inhalations and exhalations. Deeply and gently, breathe in, breathe out 3 times, please, and find the sensation. Allow your inhalations, exhalations happen itself. Do nothing extra. Just observe. Bring my attention to your body, please. Observe your posture. We cultivate loving kindness and compassion in our heart and radiate it as a light through entire your compound, village, city, state, country, world, around this universe. Also, as far as you can, through galaxies, other planets, stars. Reminding yourself like this. With clear intention, mentally repeat after me. May all living beings in this universe be well and happy. May everyone be happy and safe. And may their hearts be filled with joy. May all living beings live in security and in peace. Beings who are frail or strong, tall or short, big or small, visible or not visible, near or far away, already born or yet to be born. May all of them dwell in perfect tranquility. Let no one do harm to anyone. Let no one put the life of anyone in danger. Let no one out of anger or ill will wish anyone any harm. Expand the loving kindness and compassion beginning from your heart. Forward. Visualize yourself and send it as a light. To your backside. To your left side. And to your right side. Downward. And upward. To all six directions at once. Like the moon, the sun, spread the light, spread the energy without any condition, without any limitation, without any resistance or without any judgment. Let your heart to shine with the loving kindness and compassion from the bottom of it with the maximum effort to the highest. Wishing yourself, may all living beings in this universe be well and happy. Say sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So first of all, we offer this practice to the great qualities of the Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha. And also by the power of this meritorious deed, may all of us attain to the supreme bliss of Nibbana. May all your guardian angels and deities will receive these merits and increase their longevity and protect all of you from any kind of planetary influences or any ill effects. Ittavata cha ammehi sampadam punya sampadam sabbe deva anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya sabbe bhuta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya sabbe satta anumodantu sabba sampatti siddhya imaya dhammanu dhamma patipattiya buddham pujemi dhammam pujemi sangham pujemi Attaya imaya patipattiya jati jara vyadhi maranam ha paribunjissami idamme punya kammang asavakkaya vaham hotu sabba dukkha pamunchatu. Bless you.